The parable of the sower, what does it mean for us today? Jesus often taught in parables, which are stories that illustrate a spiritual truth. One of his most famous parables is the parable of the sower, which he explained to his disciples in Matthew 13:18-23. In this blog post, we will explore the meaning and application of this parable for us today. What is a parable? According to the Bible dictionary, a parable is a short story that conveys a moral or spiritual principle in an allegoric way. Parables are a type of metaphorical analogy. Jesus used parables to teach his followers and to reveal and conceal his religious message. Parables are a figurative saying with a Semitic background. 1. The late Bible commentator J. Vernon McGee said that a parable is a story thrown alongside the truth intended to teach. Parables have been called earthly stories with a heavenly meaning. 2. He also said that parables have two layers, the surface layer, which is the story itself, and the deeper layer, which is the spiritual truth. What is the parable of the sower? The parable of the sower is found in Matthew 13:3-9, and it goes like this. Behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places, where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up they were scorched, and because they had no root they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. What does the parable of the sower mean? Jesus explained the meaning of the parable of the sower to his disciples in Matthew 13:18-23, and he said, Therefore hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom, and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who received seed by the wayside. But he who received the seed on stony places, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now he who received seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he who received seed on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and produces, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. In this explanation, Jesus identifies four types of soil that represent four types of people who hear the word of the kingdom, which is the gospel message. The word of the kingdom is the seed that the sower, Jesus or his messengers, spreads over the field, the world. The first type of soil is the wayside, which is the path or the road where the seed falls but does not penetrate the ground. This represents the people who hear the word of the kingdom but do not understand it or pay attention to it. They are indifferent or hostile to the gospel, and they allow the wicked one, Satan or his agents, to snatch away the seed from their hearts. They do not believe or receive the word of the kingdom. The second type of soil is the stony places, which are the rocky areas where the seed falls and sprouts quickly, but has no depth of earth or moisture to sustain it. This represents the people who hear the word of the kingdom and immediately receive it with joy, but they have no root in themselves. They are superficial or emotional in their response to the gospel, and they do not have a genuine faith or commitment to Christ. They endure only for a while, and when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, they fall away or stumble. They do not persevere or grow in the word of the kingdom. The third type of soil is the thorny ground, which is the weedy areas where the seed falls and grows, but is choked by the thorns. This represents the people who hear the word of the kingdom and accept it, but they also love the world and its pleasures. They are distracted or corrupted by the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches, which choke the word and make it unfruitful. They do not bear fruit or produce for the word of the kingdom. The fourth type of soil is the good ground, which is the fertile areas where the seed falls and produces a crop. This represents the people who hear the word of the kingdom and understand it, and who also obey and follow it. They are receptive and responsive to the gospel, and they have a true faith and a deep relationship with Christ. They bear fruit and produce for the word of the kingdom, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. They are the faithful and fruitful disciples of Jesus. How should we apply the parable of the sower today? The parable of the sower is a powerful and practical lesson for us today, as it challenges us to examine our own hearts and lives in relation to the word of the kingdom. It also encourages us to share the word of the kingdom with others, knowing that God can use it to transform lives and bring forth fruit. Here are some questions we can ask ourselves as we apply the parable of the sower today. Am I like the wayside soil, who hears the word of the kingdom but does not understand it or care for it? Have I allowed the wicked one to snatch away the seed from my heart? Do I need to repent and believe the gospel, and receive the word of the kingdom with an open and humble heart? Am I like the stony soil, who hears the word of the kingdom and receives it with joy, but has no root in myself? Have I based my faith on emotions or experiences, rather than on the truth and grace of God? Do I need to grow deeper in my knowledge and love of Christ, and endure hardship and opposition for the sake